Hi, welcome to our channel. My name is Alonzo. Today we're going to be talking about why expats leave Panama. Before we get into the content, I just wanted to announce again our pre-launch for our Panama Relocation Online Course. So if interested in that, scan the QR code, get on our email list, and then we can send you the information. For this pre-launch, it's going to be at a deep discount. It's going to be even a deeper discount for our Patreon members. So if you're interested in joining us on Patreon, you can click on the QR code on your screen so that you can take advantage of pre-release content and discounts for this course. When the course launches, the price is going to go up substantially. So if you do have genuine interest in it, the time to act is now. So with that, let's get into the content of why expats leave Panama. Well, the first reason why expats leave Panama, and this was something that took place around the time of the pandemic, hopefully won't be an issue going forward, but it is due to the restrictions that Panama had during the pandemic. I don't know how many of you know of the strict restrictions that they had, but they first implemented a law basically saying, you can only go out during certain times based on the last digit of your cedula, which is kind of like your social security card. So for example, if your number ended in 0, you can go out between 7 and 9 a.m. If it ended in 1, you can go out between 8 and 10 p.m. and so on. What I think they found is that there were still a lot of people who were still out. They were trying to minimize the spread and keep the numbers down of people who were out and about. So they implemented a gender-based rule on top of that, basically to where men could leave out of the house on Tuesday, Thursdays, and Saturdays. Women could go out Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and on Sunday, nobody could leave the house, okay? So there were a lot of people who were frustrated by this, who was just like, you know what, forget this, I'm out of here. So some expats did leave, started not to put it on the list because it shouldn't be an issue going forward, but then again, the next time there is some type of pandemic or something, similar, rules may be implemented. So we did decide to put it on the list here. So that's number 12. Number 11. The number 11 reason why expats leave Panama is a career opportunity back home. It's basically an opportunity that's too good to pass up. You have some expats here who are not retired, such as ourselves. There's an increasing number of people coming who are not retired, who may be working in online business or who may be working remotely, a job remotely. But certain positions come up to where it's not a remote position or it's not a full-time remote position. It may require some amount of days, 2 or 3 days a week in the office or something like that. The opportunity is too good to pass up. Some people will return back to their home country to take that job, maybe stack some more money, and hopefully parlay that into a remote position or something, and then come back to Panama. So that is the number 11 reason why expats leave Panama. The number 10 reason why expats leave Panama is concerns about political unrest or protests. In my opinion, it's not really political unrest. Just maybe you could call it slight social unrest, and also maybe some concerns about changing laws that may impact them. So in Panama, you do have a situation where at times, especially when things got really tight for people as the country reopened after the pandemic, where they were protesting, people were not able to make ends meet, so they took to the streets, blocked off the roads. These are mostly peaceful protests, but they just block the road and don't let anything through.
These protests have now been going on for 2 weeks. This comes even as Panama government introduced subsidies on fuel and announced freezing of several commodity prices. However, many are unhappy with having to register to access the subsidy. Protesters ignored government calls for negotiations. Demonstrators refused to end road blockades of key routes across the country. These routes connect around 4.4 million people to the rest of the Central America. Several protesters said that they could not stay in Panama due to soaring prices. However, officials at the petrol station feel that the fuel subsidy will greatly aid the citizens.
And it was a successful protest that they did for about 3 weeks, where they were able to get the government to agree to cap prices on certain food. The government gave discounts on gasoline, discounts on pharmaceuticals and things like that. So people do have a growing concerns about that if situations worsen, people may protest more and cause some issues with that. Some folks may also be worried about some laws that change maybe that's going to somehow impact them. So the number 9 reason why expats leave Panama are citizenship or visa limitations. So basically it's people that maybe were going to come here and get permanent residency who for some reason were unable to. The big thing that hit a lot of people in 2021 was the Panama's sudden changes to the Friendly Nations visa. That caused a lot of problems for some folks who may have already been here and they did not want to try to meet the new requirement of purchasing a home for $200,000 or making a $200,000 CD investment. The other thing was that you could get a job from a Panamanian company. There are a lot of people who are unable to do that, so they were forced to then go back home. And even now you still have people who are here who maybe are not planning to get residency, who still have the added expense of taking a trip every 90 days out of the country in order to reset their tourist visa. So for that reason, a lot of people end up going back to their home country. The number 8 reason why people return to their home country is the language barrier. A lot of folks come down and they just thinking, okay, I don't speak Spanish, but it won't be a problem. And it's true. It's true that you can make it with apps. You have Google Translate, all these other translator apps. And it's true that you can make it. But, it's just not the experience that certain people thought that they were going to have. They thought it was going to be a better experience for them, even though they did not know Spanish. But I'm telling you, the experiences that you're going to have here are going to improve greatly just by learning a little bit of Spanish. So, but a lot of people who are totally resistant to learning it become frustrated and end up leaving. So that's the number 8 reason why expats leave Panama. The number 7 reason why expats leave Panama is that they're missing certain activities in their home countries. Now, I will just give you a personal example on this. For us, I'll say at least in my case, I do miss most concerts and comedy shows. Maybe plays to a lesser extent, plays also, but plays, concerts, comedy shows, things like that. Again, because of the language barrier, these are things we can't necessarily go enjoy. They have a ton of comedy shows here, but our Spanish isn't good enough to be able to go comprehend that. Or we can go to a concert if it's the type of music that we like, like we've been to some jazz concerts and things like that. But maybe a lot of the artists that we would normally like to see, they aren't here or aren't coming here. So in our case, those are 2 things that we miss a lot. In some people's cases, it's enough to where it causes them to basically want to leave and go back to their home country because of these activities that they miss. So the number 6 reason why people leave Panama, or why expats leave Panama, are unrealistic expectations, concerning the laws and the processes. You have to realize that you are in a new country and the laws and the processes are not going to be the same as what they were in your old country. And on top of that, your new country is a developing country. So a lot of the processes that they have may be antiquated or, kind of slow. Like I said, we mentioned in other videos, dealing with a lot of things at these government offices. There's a lot of paperwork. There's a lot of waiting. There's a lot of standing around. Not as many things are automated, so people tend to have an issue with that. And then just even in terms of different laws that maybe they weren't aware of, or just how things operate in general. Just in general, like we mentioned before about the lower speed limits. So you have to be on the lookout for the police here because of the difference in the driving laws. The speed limits here are quite low because you don't have as many, big, huge, wide open highways with 4 lanes, 3-4 lanes each way and shoulders on each side of the road. And a lot of these roads go through, urban areas. They may be bumpy, so the speed limits are low. A lot of people not used to that. Or other laws such as, say, like the blood alcohol level content in Panama, a lot of people don't realize is zero. So that's a huge law that impacts a lot of people. So when it comes down to some of the different laws and the processes, it becomes a frustration for some folks to the point to where they decide to maybe go back home. The number 5 reason why expats leave Panama is that they're missing friends and family. Now this one I can totally identify with. It's very, very difficult down here in a new country without your friends and family. You try to encourage them as much as you can to come visit. You send them all these videos of all these beautiful beaches and mountains and, say, hey, you need to take a trip down here and see this stuff. And, we have a few people visit, which is great, but it's just not the same as being back, with your friends and family where you can see them more often and things like that. And it's cool. We've established some relationships with some people that we've met here. And it's very, very nice, very, very cool people. But obviously it's never going to be the same as being with your friends and family. So that is another reason why a lot of expats leave Panama. The number 4 reason why expats leave Panama is due to divorce or relationship issues. Now this is a very, very sad one, to have occur, to where you have a couple or someone who's moved here, or they've been together for a long time and they move here and something goes wrong, or maybe they had some problems before they left home that hadn't really bubbled quite up to the surface, or things like that. But when you come here, and like I mentioned just in the previous item, you're missing a lot of your friends and family. You're more removed from other people who you may interact with outside of your relationship, or your marriage. You're going to be generally slower to make new friends, or that may take a while. So, you're definitely there's going to be more interaction that you have with each other. So, your relationship is tested through making this type of a move. It's a stressful move for a lot of people. I try to do as much research as I can, or as I could, to make it a less stressful situation, which again is one of the reasons why we're coming up with our Panama Relocation Online Course that you should seriously consider enrolling in, to reduce those stress and anxiety levels that lead to situations like this. But it is a stressful situation to begin with, moving. And then you consider you're coming down, you're making all these adjustments, you're in a new country, you're trying to learn a new language. You don't have your support system right there with you. Granted, you got video calls and all of that, but it is different not having your support system right there with you, in case there are some bumps in the road or things like that. So that has caused some people to maybe become frustrated to the point where they decide to end the relationship and go back home. So that's a sad situation, but it does occur. So the number 3 reason why expats leave Panama is due to medical reasons. Now this could be an issue that they have for their own medical situation, where it's something that they want to get looked at back in the States, or it's a particular surgery that they want to have done back in the States, although the healthcare in Panama is very, very good. But maybe there's a specialist back in the States who knows your situation, who you've been with for some years, that you're more comfortable with. So a lot of people do choose to go back home in those cases, or in cases of some serious surgeries, whether it be their own surgery or that of a family member. And the other reason why people go back that's related to this is not their own health issues, but maybe the health issues of a parent. You have an older parent who's fallen ill, who's taken ill, who needs some personalized care to where you need to be there. So you have a lot of expats will leave Panama for those medical and health reasons, whether it be their own or a family member. The number 2 reason why people leave Panama is the lack of ability to adjust to the culture. Now, we kind of brushed over this one at certain times, through this list, because that's always going to be a contributor, whether you're talking about the language barrier, the laws, the processes, just things being different. So a lack of ability to adjust to the culture. So one thing that we mentioned before, where Panamanians are typically late, I guess, when it comes to starting events on time, or even when it comes to certain business situations, a service they're supposed to be providing, They're supposed to arrive at 3, may arrive 3:30, 3:40, or not show up. Or you may or may not ever even get a message from them if you try to message them. So certain things like that, adjusting to that culture. Also adjusting to, just say, like the holidays. You get a lot of traffic in the beach areas around the holidays. You get a lot of noise. People like to celebrate, things like that. So that is the number 2 reason why people leave Panama, is because of their lack of ability to adjust to the culture. The number 1 reason why expats leave Panama, and you all probably could have guessed this, is due to finances. So if you come to Panama, you need to have your finances in order. So it's a lot of people maybe have underestimated the cost of living here. So yes, Panama is a developing country. It does have a lower cost of living than the United States for that reason. However, there are still certain items in Panama that do cost as much or even more than in the United States or Canada or Europe, especially if it's a product that you're purchasing that is imported. Certain food products that are imported, electronics, some things like that are going to be maybe more expensive. Even a lot of restaurants, they have some very, very high-end restaurants in Panama City that are as expensive or more expensive than in the States. And depending upon your accommodations, you can save a lot of money on your housing, but that's going to be your biggest expense. So if you're going to go for, a super nice big house, a beachfront condo, or, these are things that you're going to pay up for. You may not pay as much for these items as you would in the U.S., Canada, or Europe, but it's still, a decent, chunk of change if you're going to elect to do that instead of living, say, like in a lower cost apartment or in a Panamanian neighborhood. So basically, a lot of people just underestimate the cost. You also come down, you're in a central location that's good for travel, so you don't want to do some traveling, which is good. You can get a lot of cheap fares to Costa Rica and Colombia, places like that. You can get a lot of cheap airfares. The hotels and accommodations tend to be less expensive, especially in Colombia. Costa Rica is actually more expensive. They have a very, very high rate of tax in Costa Rica. But, these are additional expenses that you have. You may be going to be traveling more. You're going to want to get out and see, even traveling within Panama. So even though things are generally less expensive with food and hotels and stuff, if you're going out and doing these activities, you're still spending money. So even though you're spending less money than you would be spending if you were back home, but you're going to be doing these activities probably more often than, when you were back in your home country. Back in your home country, you may plan a vacation, once a year or twice a year or something like that. But when you're here, it's too easy and tempting to just, get up and go somewhere, because you can just jump in the car and go somewhere very easily, or you can get there very quickly on an inexpensive flight. So again, finances is the number 1 reason why expats leave Panama. So you do want to have your finances in order. You do want to plan and budget and stick to your budget as much as possible. You also, sometimes, whether you're retired or not, maybe want to seek some additional sources of income. So we do have an online course. It's called Monetize Present Knowledge, that our friend Chris Kelly is the instructor, and we have an affiliate link for that. If you all are interested in that, you can click on the QR code to check that out. That's going to be a great way for you to take the knowledge that you have, turn it into an online course, and generate some income, some passive income. This way you can still get out and travel and enjoy yourself while continuing to make money. As a matter of fact, Chris and his wife Juliette have been able to travel, all over the world, while their online courses were making them money. So just another option that you may want to look into, or just make sure that you have your other online business in order, or some other ideas that you can work on to where you can earn money passively and not spend a lot of time in front of the computer, where you can get out and enjoy yourself and not find yourself in a situation that you have to leave Panama due to finances. So that wraps up the video. We want to thank you all. Please do like, subscribe, and comment below. Hit your notification bell so that you can be notified of our future videos, and we will catch you all on the next one.
Te quiero a ti, a ti, a ti, a ti, a ti.